Hi everyone, this is Ryan. I'm the founder of Sand and Castles Travel Co. And today we are going to be covering Disneyland for beginners. Now, Disneyland, especially if you've never been, can feel extremely daunting. It's a pretty big vacation and you want to get it right. If you have a bad experience the first time you go, the chances are you're not going to want to go back again and you're going to miss out on a lot. Disneyland can be a really fun vacation spot. So, if you've never been to Disneyland, you've been interested in going, want to know more, this episode is for you. This is your guide to make your trip magical instead of stressful. So we'll just jump right in. First point I want to talk about is understanding park tickets versus park reservations, because you do need both. So during COVID, obviously everything shut down, we were social distancing, and the capacity of certain places kind of diminished, and Disneyland was no exception. You went from being able to just buy a ticket and to walk into Disneyland to you had to buy a ticket, but then you also had to make sure that you picked a day to go that the park wasn't at capacity already, because they needed to make sure there was space for social distancing. Now, thankfully, that's over. The pandemic is over, but Disneyland did kind of keep some of the traits. The capacity has increased, so there's not as much social distancing, but they do try and control crowds a little bit to make sure it's not too overcrowded, to make sure the lines and the wait times for the lines are not extremely ridiculous. So, the first thing you need to do is you have to buy a park ticket, and this is your entry pass. This is what you need to get in. You will also need a park reservation, and this is choosing the day that you're going to go and which park you're going to attend. So are you going to go to Disneyland, or are you going to go to California Adventure Park? Now, these don't have to be decided at the same time. You can purchase your ticket and then pick your date later, decide what park you're going to go to on what day later. You can also do it at the same time. It's really up to you. I would recommend, if you have specific dates in mind, that you go ahead, you can check the calendar ahead of time and make sure, okay, I want to go to Disneyland on this date, and it is available for reservation on this date. Do that before committing, before booking, because it would be really disappointing to buy the tickets and then your chosen dates aren't even available for reservation. So for each day that you go to Disneyland, you will need a park ticket, which again is your entry pass, and your park reservation, which is you telling Disneyland which park you're going to go to on what days. Book early, especially for peak seasons around holidays, summers. The summer gets pretty busy. There are a lot of blockout dates for pass holders, for annual pass holders. So make sure that you just book in advance, you look early to see what dates are available, and that it lines up with the trip that you're wanting to take and the parks that you want to go to. It'll also be a bummer if you were wanting to go to both Disneyland and California Adventure Park, but only one park was available during the time frame you were wanting to go. So just plan ahead, look, see what's available. Again, since COVID is over, that has laxed quite a bit. I haven't seen very often where it's booked out very far in advance, usually just a couple days. So if it's a last minute trip, you might be a little more concerned about that. But if you're planning ahead, even a couple weeks, you should be totally fine. Now that we've got the basics covered on how to get into Disneyland, I want to talk about park hopping. So there's 2 parks at Disneyland, and you can attend one park or both parks in the same day, depending on the ticket type that you buy. So there is a single day pass, meaning whichever park you choose for that single day is the park you get to go into. Or there is the park hopper, which means you can start in Disneyland, and then by 1 o'clock you can switch over to California Adventure Park, and you can go to both parks in one day. Now, this can be a really great perk. Park hopping is great, but I want to make sure that you know how to use it. You don't want to be going on one ride in Disneyland and then one ride in California Adventure and then back to Disneyland and back to California Adventure, because that is a ton of walking and you are going to be exhausted and wear yourself out and really not even get to enjoy the day. You'll be done before you really even got to get started. So park hopping is really great if you only have maybe one day to attend the parks, but you want to go to both parks. So you're like, okay, I'll get a park hopper so I can go morning one park, afternoon the other. I wouldn't recommend just bopping back and forth throughout the day. Kind of pick one, stick with it, do what you want to do in that one, and then you can switch over to the other one. This is really good, again, for short trips, maybe adults or older kids. California Adventure has more of the thrill rides, the bigger rides compared to Disneyland. And so if you don't want to spend the whole day in Disneyland, it can be great, like, okay, we can hop on over to the other now. It is not worth it, I would say, if you do have multiple days to attend the parks. So you want to make sure, I get a full day at Disneyland, I'll just buy a single day pass for this one. Next day I'll go to California Adventure. This can also be really hard if you have little kids. Just, again, it's a lot of walking, a lot of moving back and forth. If you want to take it at a slower pace, probably don't do the park hopper. So you do have the options for both. You can visit one park per day or the park hopper. Now, Disneyland, like a lot of other places, they have really moved towards technology. So you're not going to have a physical ticket to hand to the cast member that's helping you go into the park. You're going to use your phone, and you'll download the Disneyland app, and it has your park tickets. It will link all your park tickets there, so every person in your party, you'll have your tickets there. And what's really, really cool about the app is it gives you real-time wait times for the lines. So if you have a particular ride in mind, you can just hop on the app and see, oh, it's a 15-minute wait time, or actually this is 45 minutes, we could go do another ride first. It has a map of the parks, so if you're in one area, and if you're in Fantasyland and want to figure out how to get to Tomorrowland, you can look at the best ways to get there. So it really is a very useful tool. It's also important because you're going to use the app for park entrance. You're going to use it for the Genie Plus Lightning Lane, which we'll talk about that more in a minute. You're going to use the app to order food. We will also talk about that more in a minute. It just helps save time. Instead of having a physical map, instead of having your physical tickets, everything is just all in one place. So it really is a cool feature, a cool tool. One tip is it can drain your battery. So maybe have multiple people that have the app and can access what needs to be accessed, or make sure that you bring a portable charger just so your phone doesn't die on you while you're trying to use it at Disneyland. Mobile ordering. So this is another big change. There's not a lot of restaurants or trucks or just any sort of dining experiences that you can just walk up to and order at anymore. A lot of the ordering needs to be done through the Disneyland app. It does save time because then you don't have to wait in line. You can plan ahead. You can order lunch at 9 o'clock. You can get on at 9 o'clock and say, we want to have lunch at this restaurant at noon. Put the order in, and then it'll be ready for you when you get there, when the time arrives. Make sure you plan ahead. You don't want it to be 12 o'clock and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm absolutely starving. Now I gotta order food and we've gotta wait for the food, figure out how this mobile ordering thing works. So just be aware. Bonus tip, the world famous Dole Whip. This is how you're going to order it. There are some locations throughout the park that serve Dole Whip, and you can order on the Disneyland app, and it will show you where these are located. It'll show you the whole menu for these restaurants. It's a really, really cool feature. So that is how you're going to use it. It does get busy during peak hours, so just plan ahead, but it's really nice to not have to wait in line and just know what you're doing ahead of time. Next thing I want to talk about is Lightning Lane. So this has replaced the Fast Pass. So if you've never been to Disneyland, you probably are not aware of this. If you have been to Disneyland in the past, they had Fast Passes, and this is essentially a pass that allows you to skip the line. And so obviously this is really popular because people don't want to wait in several hours of lines to ride a ride. So what it is you purchase it ahead of time, and there's two types of lightning lanes. There's the lightning lane multi-pass with Genie Plus, and what that is it allows you to book a ride basically that you're waiting in the queue virtually. So say you want to go on the teacups and there's a long wait for the teacups. You put in on the app that you and whoever else in your party want to go on this ride. And it'll give you a return time. And it'll say, okay, come back in 2 hours or come back at 4 p.m. today. Now, a couple things that I want to make sure you're aware of with how this works. You can only reserve one lightning lane at a time. So you can only reserve one ride at a time unless you've waited at least 2 hours. So say you want to go on Pirates of the Caribbean and the only available time slot for you to skip the line using Lightning Lane is at 5 p.m. and you booked that at 8 a.m. By 10 a.m. you can reserve another one. And then if 2 hours have passed, you can reserve another one. So it's when you use it or 2 hours have passed, and then you can reserve more lightning lanes. And this is just really great so you don't have to wait in line. You get to spend your time doing other fun things instead of standing around and waiting in line. There is also an individual lightning lane pass. These are for some of the more popular rides. Think Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. You can't just do a lightning lane multi-pass for this ride, but you can just one time say, okay, I'm going to do this ride, or if there's just certain rides that you want to do it for and you don't want to buy the whole lightning lane multi-pass, you can do the individual passes and just select one ride. Yeah, and that just allows you to skip the line. So that's a really great resource available as well. And again, you'll just do that all in the Disneyland app. Now, I want to talk about the must-haves for Disneyland, because you can't just roll out of bed and walk into the park. You're probably not going to have a good time if you do that. So I've already kind of talked about this. You will be using your phone a lot, so you're probably going to want a portable charger. You don't want your phone dying on you while you're using it to make your experience at Disneyland as good as it can be. You're also going to be walking a lot, especially if you have the park hopper. I know that there's been days when I've gone to Disneyland and I've cleared 20,000 steps. And that's a lot of steps in a day. And so you're going to want comfy walking shoes, whether that's tennis shoes or hiking shoes, or I love Tevas. They're really comfortable sandals. So just make sure that you have good, comfortable walking shoes that aren't going to give you blisters, that aren't going to make you too tired, make your feet hurt. You're going to want a refillable water bottle. There are water stations and water fountains that you can fill up your water throughout the park. So make sure you bring something so you're not having to buy water bottles all the time. It just is good to stay hydrated. Southern California can get pretty hot. It stays pretty mild year-round, but in the summer it can get pretty warm, so you want to make sure you're staying hydrated. And Disneyland also has water rides, and so if you don't want to get wet, or you have little ones that maybe aren't going to want to get wet on a ride, make sure to bring a poncho. There's like Grizzly River Rapids that you can get pretty wet on. There's Tiana's Bayou Adventure that you could potentially get pretty wet on, so if you're not a fan of that, bring a poncho, just a disposable poncho, put it on for the ride, take it off. And then snacks. You can buy snacks in the park. That can also get pretty pricey. So if you want to save a little bit of money there, you can pack a lunch. You can totally bring food into Disneyland. That's fine. They do search your bags upon entry. Food itself, food and drinks, they will let you bring in. That's no problem. So you can bring snacks, lunch, food, just to snack on throughout the day, give you fuel and energy to keep you going. Now, those are the must-haves. Now, there are some optional things that can just make your experience a little more fun. A lot of people do what's called Disney bounding, where they dress as Disney characters. Now, costumes are not allowed for children like 14 or older, just because they don't want kids to see someone in a costume and think that's the character, when really it's just someone trying to enjoy Disneyland. But you can still Disney bound, and almost like cosplay, like a character. So it's not a full-on costume, but maybe you buy a red shirt and yellow shorts and put on little bear ears and you're Winnie the Pooh. Things like that. So you can still Disney bound and dress as fun Disney characters while you're there. Some people like to have matching park shirts, especially if it's like a family vacation or a family reunion, things like that. You'll see a lot of people in matching Disney shirts. Again, this is just for fun. This is not required. You can just wear a comfortable t-shirt, something that's airy and flowy. During the winter time, during Christmas time, it feels pretty good during the day, but when it gets dark, it does get a little chilly, so you might want to bring a jacket, but really just comfortable clothes to walk in that aren't going to make you too hot. You can also bring an autograph book if you have characters that you want to meet. They will sign autographs for you, which is really fun. So make sure to bring your autograph book so they can sign that. You can bring backpacks or crossbody bags. I like to bring a crossbody bag just so I'm not worried about things falling out of my pockets, especially on some of the bigger rides. You can put your phone in there, put chapstick, sunglasses, and know that it's secure. You can leave it on for the ride, take the bags on the rides with you, and that's really great. You can also bring a lanyard to trade pins. They have pin trading stations all over the parks, which is really fun as well, and see what kind of pins you can collect. Now, just some other helpful tips and tricks for first-timers at Disneyland. You might want to arrive early. There's a term that's called rope drop. That means you get there right at park opening, and as soon as they drop the rope to let people in, you're there to go on rides. The longer you wait to arrive at the park, the busier it's going to get. So the earlier you arrive, the less busy it's going to be. But that is definitely not a requirement. That's just a little heads up. You'll want to download your maps, your apps, all of that in advance. You don't want to be waiting in line to try and arrive at Disneyland and not have the Disneyland app on your phone. That'll just be really stressful because you're trying to get your tickets and just adds chaos to an already chaotic feeling. Stay close to the parks. Now, there are some Disneyland official hotels. There are 2 of them, and they are right by the parks, like practically inside. You can enter the parks from the hotels. However, these can be pretty expensive. They are amazing. They are themed so beautifully. It feels like you never leave the magic of Disneyland, and you're just right by the park. So it's not a long walk at the end of the night or a bus ride or however you got there. If you had to park there, you don't have to go find your car and drive back to your hotel. But they can be pretty pricey, but if that's something you're okay with, then we can help you get that booked. There are also Disneyland Good Neighbor hotels, meaning they're not officially affiliated with Disney. They're not Disney hotels, but they are in the surrounding area, and so you can stay there and possibly have some perks by staying at a Disneyland Good Neighbor hotel. They do have the ART, it's the Anaheim Regional Transportation buses, or the ART buses, that they stop at these Disneyland Good Neighbor hotels and go from these hotels and take you directly into the park. So you don't need a car, you don't need to worry about parking, you just hop on the bus, it'll take you to and from the parks. They start pretty early, like usually like 6:30 in the morning, and they go until about 11:30 at night. So they run all day. About every 15 to 30 minutes you can expect a bus to come. So I want to talk about my first Disneyland experience. My parents had been before, but maybe only once when they took me. And I have talked about this before in another episode, my first time on the Tower of Terror, and I was terrified. But I want to talk about other memories that I remember. I remember just meeting the princesses. I remember getting to meet Mickey and Minnie and how exciting that was, and just truly the magic. Like, it was the most amazing place I felt like I had ever been. I was 7, and I still remember that first experience. So if you are looking to take your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, I promise you they will remember it. I promise they will have an amazing time. And something that's pretty cool, children 2 and under are free to get into the park. So if you have a little one that you want to take, but you're like, they're not even going to remember it, you will. And also, If they're 2 or under, it's free. So that's a really great benefit that Disney has as well. Another thing that you're probably going to want to bring to the park is, especially if you have little kids, is a stroller. Now, wagons are not permitted into Disneyland, but strollers are, and they do have designated stroller parking areas. So if you're going on a ride, you can park your stroller, get your little ones out, take them on the ride, and then put them back in the stroller. That's all I have for Disneyland for beginners. So if you have any questions, want to know more, let me know. I'm happy to do more videos on Disneyland and tips and tricks that might be good for beginners. So specific questions, let me know. If you're looking to go to Disneyland, if you're looking to plan a trip there, let us know. We can help get that booked for you, and we can help plan your personal Disneyland vacation. Make sure you have the most magical time. So thanks for joining, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.